For more videos and problems for management information systems, you can check out Sarai Studies. Link is in the description box below. Recall that we found the sum and the count of product in each category, and we also introduced slicers. But now we want to recreate this pivot table just with formula. So the first thing I'll do is start with maybe this column. So when I recreate the category column, all you have is this. So we're going to create a new sheet called formula version. So I want to recreate the category column. So I'm going to grab that data, copy it, my formula version, paste it, and then the category. But the issue is that these are all of the categories. I only want unique categories. So I'm going to select the entire thing, go to data, tools, and remove duplicates. Now I have my unique categories. I'm also going to remove the borders, go to home, no border. I should probably delete the slicer. There we go. So I have this category done. Now I want to move on to sum of quantity. How do I do this? Well, I want the sum of the quantities per category. You would think, oh, let me just do sum and then of the quantity. But this is just going to give you the total amount of quantity, total amount of product. We want the total amount of quantity specifically for the health category. But that would mean that the sum is conditional. So then we use sum if, because we want to find the sum of the quantity if the category is health. Now the parameters are like flipped. Instead of saying, oh, what do I want the sum of and putting that as first, it's like the last one, the sum range. And what's first is basically your categories. You're going to go to your first actual category. So you're not going to include the header. So you're going to go from A2 all the way down. And if you go back to your formula version, it's saying, oh, I want column A from formula version sheet. No, we want column A from our data sheet. So then we specify that. We remove the tick marks and say data. Then the criteria. You've just given it the column you want to search through. You have to specify, okay, what do you want me to sum up the quantity of? Specifically, the health category. I'm just going to do that. And if you leave this, it's going to give you an error when you're referring to a cell in the same sheet that you're in. Right now, we're in the formula version sheet. You don't have to specify the sheet. Excel knows that you mean A3 in this sheet. And then finally, the sum range is what you want to sum up, and that is the quantity. So I'm going to go to data. I'm going to select quantity starting from the first value that I see all the way down. Go back to formula sheet, and it's saying, okay, I want to select column C from formula version sheet. No, I want to select column C from our data sheet. That's where our actual column is, not this sheet. And then parenthesis, click enter, and then we see 9. So let's make sure we're correct. Over here, we see health, we see 9 for sum of quantity, so we are correct. And then we can just extend this all the way down. So we managed to replicate these two columns. Now we have to replicate this column. So this is count of quantity. And you would think, oh, let me just do the count function and then select my quantity from the beginning to the end. But that's just literally going to count the amount of rows that there are, or the amount of times that all products show up. We specifically want the count of how many times a customer ordered in the health category. So in other words, we just want to know how many times health shows up. And so we just give it the column that we want to count, because when we're counting quantity, it's really just counting how many times that thing shows up. So we really only need to look at this category column and just find out how many times each category shows up. So if we go back to formula version, it says, oh, we want column A from formula version. No, we want column A from our data sheet. And then specifically, we want to count the health category. But again, when you are referencing to a cell in the same sheet, you can just put in the cell and then parenthesis and then enter. And we can check our answer. So health count 2. We go here, health count is 2. So we're right. And then we can just extend this downwards, and we managed to replicate these 3 columns. And now the last thing we need to replicate is the grand total. So here we can go to formula, auto sum, enter. That's 181. This is 181. We're correct. And then for this one, we want to add up the counts. So just auto sum. So if we go check our answer here, we have grand total, count of quantity 31. Here we have 30. So what's the issue? Well, if you look at jewelry, the count is 4. And if you look at your pivot version for jewelry, the count is 3. So which one is it? Well, let's go to data, product category, and let's filter by jewelry. And we see 4 of them. So what's interesting is that the pivot version only counted 3. So we're assuming it only counted these 3, while our version counted all of them. So our version is the one that's correct, because it is true that there was a customer who ordered from the jewelry category. It's just that we don't know the actual quantity, so we missed out on that, which is bringing to attention the importance of data cleaning. But the pivot version only counted jewelry if it actually had quantity inside. So it didn't count this one. So keep that in mind. So for formula version, it did count 4. We do have 31, and that's totally fine. So we managed to replicate this entire pivot table. Now let's actually make it a table. So select your data, go to home, format as table, maybe orange, click OK. And then if we were to filter, let's say by beauty, click OK. This is not updating. It should just say 17. What we can do is go to formulas and kind of refresh it. So we can do sum, there we go. And then here it was also sum. Now, if we filter by anything else, let's say appliances, it should update correctly. And to undo that, now we can select the data, go to insert, recommended charts. We could do all charts, pie chart, select it. And here we have our pie chart. So here we have amount of products sold in each category, but right now we're not actually sure what it's graphing because there's 2 columns here. So we can go to data, and then I'm assuming series 1 is this first column and series 2 is this one, so it is the amount of products sold in each category. But because we did this last video, let me do series 2, apply, and then right click, add data callouts. So this time this is the amount of times a customer ordered from a category. In other words, how many times these categories were mentioned. Let's make it bigger, move things around if you need to. And the last thing is that there's no slicers. The only time you have slicers is when you are creating a chart from a pivot table. This is just a regular table. So if you click on the chart, there's just chart design, there's format, but there's no slicers. So keep that in mind. And that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next.